First graders, Mr. Bottom here. It is Monday, October 12th, and it rained last night for quite a while, and we really did need the rain, and I have my rain gauge. So scientists love to measure. We measure the temperature with a thermometer, we measure the wind using the Beaufort scale, and we can measure rain by collecting it in a container and seeing how much it has, so a rain gauge. And right behind me here, I have my rain gauge, which was on my deck last night, catching the rain. So here's the rain gauge in an up-close photo, and you can see that it has an open top that the rain fell into, and it counts. So as it fills up, the numbers get bigger, because down here near the bottom, I got a little bit more than 1 inch of rain last night. So it starts with less than a half an inch. So let's see, let's count the lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines makes a half an inch. So I bet another 5 lines, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines would make a whole inch of rain. And it looks like I got another 1, almost 2 lines of rain more. So that would mean that I got 1 2/10 of an inch of rain in my yard. That little petal from the flowers fell right on top so we can see the top of the water. That's pretty cool. And on a really stormy day, I might get my rain gauge to go all the way up to 5 inches of rain. I don't think I've ever collected 5 inches of rain, but on a super rainy day, that might happen. So this is a rain gauge. A rain gauge is for measuring how much rain we collected. Scientists use lots of tools to measure different parts of the weather, and this rain gauge is used for measuring how much rain or precipitation fell from the sky. First graders, Mr. Ball, I'm back in the yard here with my rain gauge that measured 1 2/10 inches of rain last night. It was really good to have. We hadn't had rain for such a really long time. And I've also got some other science tools for measuring liquids here. Scientists love to measure liquids. We're always very precise in the measurements that we use. So I've got a couple of what are called graduated cylinders. And the reason they're called graduated is not because they're wearing this little graduation hat on their head, like the graduation people. Nope, it's called a graduated cylinder because of the numbers on there. So all those numbers are numbers that measure the amount of milliliters or amount of liquid that are in this container. So this one looks like it's up to about 50 milliliters of water. I've colored the water green. That is water. I made it green so you can see it a little easier than the rainwater, which was clear. And about 50 milliliters of water. So 50 plus 50, I think that's 100. So I also have something over here called a beaker. And the beaker has measurements a lot like we have in our kitchen with cups and ounces, but on the other side it's made for science, which we measure in milliliters, and those numbers are 200, 300, 400, 500 as we measure up toward the top until we get to 1,000 milliliters, which is the same as a liter. I hope you can, there we go, you can see that a little better. A liter is 1,000 milliliters. So when I take let's just see what this one has in it already. This one has some green liquid in it, green water in it, and it looks like it's right at about the 200 milliliter mark. So when I want to measure smaller amounts, like this, 50, I'd use a graduated cylinder. If I want to measure bigger amounts, I use the measuring cup, because if I wanted to find a small amount, I can't see it in here. So if I take the 50 and I dump 50 milliliters, it looks like almost nothing when I put it in this great big container. So this one was all full up to the line 50, but it looks like almost nothing in this container. Even if I add another 50, it still isn't even up to the very first line. So that's 100 milliliters, but I can't measure it very well with the big cup. And that's why scientists have a number of different cups. So let's see, that one was at 200 before. If I pour that in there, 200 plus 100, 2 plus 1 is 3. So it should be right about 300 milliliters, if I can get it to, so you can see it. It's just hard to do with standing up over here, but yep, it's right around 300. Looks like it's right at the 300 mark. So we can use measuring cups for larger amounts of liquid, And we use graduated cylinders when we want to measure small amounts of liquid. And of course, measuring the rain in our rain gauge, it's graduated, meaning that it has the numbers, but it's graduated for measuring the rain. The rain falls in the top, and it measures how much rain we got. So different forms of measuring liquid things in the science lab, and we can also measure things in our kitchens by using measuring tools as well. You probably have some things for measuring around where you're living. I've got a few things here, so I brought out my measuring cup, which is used for measuring liquids when I'm cooking. And very similar to how a rain gauge works, we put in the liquid until we get as much liquid in there as we want. It's not collecting from the sky, but it is collecting whatever we pour in there, so we can tell exactly how much liquid is in there. You might also have something at your house for measuring that is oftentimes used for measuring things that are dry, like flour or sugar or things like that. We measure in a cup that looks like this, and it has been prearranged. Right on the side here it says this is a half a cup, so it would hold a half a cup of whatever it is that I was measuring. And then sometimes when we're measuring smaller amounts, we use things called measuring spoons, and each of these spoons is a different size and for measuring a different amount of material. So scientists love to measure things, whether it's the rain in the weather or cooking in the kitchen. We measure things with tools that have been designed to measure out precise amounts. Maybe you can find some things around your house that you use for measuring.